God shows up, this is true, and God's got a conversation with Adam. So one day Adam is trying to figure out some things about life, and he's asking God some questions. He asked God one day, he says, God, how come you made this woman, how come you made her so beautiful? And she's gorgeous. I mean, she's drop dead beautiful. Why did you make her so gorgeous? And God says to Adam, Adam, that's so that you would love her a lot. And Adam said, man, you did a fantastic job, God. You did incredible. But then Adam kind of gets this puzzled look over his face, and he says, but God, I got another question. Why did you make her so dumb? And God says to Adam, well, Adam, that's so that she would love you. Now, when I usually tell that story in my classroom at Bible, I always do a follow-up story. My oldest daughter, she's 22, and she's about to graduate from UCLA, and she got a full ride scholarship, 100% paid for.
Yes.
Nice, Dad liked that. And but when she was in the 8th grade, she made a decision that she wanted to be valedictorian of her senior class when she graduated from high school. When she graduated high school, there was 519 students in her class. And my daughter graduated number 1.
Yes.
And she is not Asian. If you don't get that answer, you talk to your neighbor, you ask him for why that was relevant to the discussion. My students usually crack up laughing when I say that. And she's not Asian, because the Asians understand, right? You understand?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a little parental pressure to do well in school?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you have lots of parental pressure to do well in school. You get straight A's, you come home, as my friend did. He's Chinese, came home, he had straight A's on his report card, and his mother said, what's your class ranking? He said, number 3 in my class, and she said, that's not good enough. That's Asian for you. That's Asian. So, how many of you participate with me? I was in my daughter's high school class. I was speaking, and I made this comment in the class. And I asked the class to participate. You participate with me. Let me see a show of hands. How many of you have ever been lied to at least once in your life? You've been lied to. Okay, and what I said to my daughter's class, I said, that proves that truth exists. And nobody in the class got it. I can see that a lot of you didn't get it. One brave girl raised her hand. I called on her. She said, John, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, a lie is a departure from something. A lie is a departure from the truth. That's right. Because lies are possible, that means truth exists. I was having a conversation with a math professor at the University of Latvia in Riga, Latvia, a number of years ago. We're talking about the existence of God. And he doubted that there was absolutes. And if there's absolutes, then there's got to be an ultimate absolute, i.e. namely God. So I put down on a piece of paper and I said, what does 2 plus 2 equal? And he said 4. How many right answers are there to that question? 2 plus 2 equals. How many right answers are there? 1 answer. How many wrong answers are there? That's right, lots of wrong answers. So if there's a right answer to that question, why is there not a right answer to other questions? Questions like, does God exist? There's a right answer to the question. Is there life after death? There's a right answer to the question. Is there really a true religion? Is there any religion that actually gets things right? I want a religion, really a relationship with God, that gets things right. I want something that gets it all right, not half right. I believe that Christianity gets it right. Gets it all right. Not that Christians are totally consistent in their behavior. They're not. But Christianity is a cohesive worldview that gets the answers to the questions right. I want to share kind of my personal spiritual journey with you. Take about 3 minutes. And then I think we're going to do Q&A time, questions. So you can think about your questions. I only have time for soundbite answers. If you want to email me questions in the future, my email is jonrit@aol.com. jonrit@aol.com. When I was growing up, I was raised in a church environment growing up, and because of that, I had some basic beliefs about God. God is real. Jesus is his son. Jesus died on the cross, rose from the grave. There's life after death. Heaven and hell are real. I had those basic beliefs. But on an emotional scale, God was way off in space, and I was down here on planet Earth, and I did not know how to get closer to God. In high school, I began to ask questions about life, like, why am I here? What's the purpose of life? What's going to happen to me when I die? I couldn't answer those questions. I didn't have any answers to those questions. And as a junior in high school, a friend sat down and shared with me 4 principles. Number 1, that God loves me and desires a relationship with me. And I thought, yeah, I think that's true. God went through an awful lot of effort to build this universe, to build planet Earth, to make it habitable for us, and then to create us. He went through an incredible amount of work. I could literally teach a whole course just on that comment for a whole semester, easily. Second thing my friend shared with me, he said, John, you and I are not perfect. Well, I started cracking up laughing. I said, that's old news. I already know that I've done a lot of stupid stuff in life. My life tended to be characterized by a very large vocabulary, just happened to be limited to 4-letter words. I thought a good time was not being able to remember where I was Friday night because I'd gotten so drunk. I spelled love G-E-T. There's a lot of things wrong in my life. So I knew that I was sinful. But the problem in this area is I had a misconception. I usually compared myself to my friends in high school. I thought, well, you know, my friends, they swear a little bit, I swear a little bit. My friends, you know, they get drunk a little bit, I get drunk a little bit. My friends lose their temper, I lose my temper. And I was comparing myself with my friends in high school. And then it dawned on me the standard of comparison isn't my friends in high school. The standard of comparison is the God of the universe. And God is totally good, and I was totally not. And as a result, I incurred a penalty, separation. Remember the Adam and Eve story? God said to Adam, if you eat the fruit in that center of the garden, that day you're going to die. He ate the fruit, he lived another 700 years. He didn't die physically, he died relationally and spiritually. His relationship with God got broken. He experienced relationship divorce. We talk about divorce as being the death of the relationship. Sin results in a penalty, death. Paul, the apostle, said, for the wages, the payment for sin is death. Spiritual divorce. Broken relationship. And when I understood that, I'm like, man, my problem is more serious than I thought it was. The Bible says whether I have 1 sin or 1 billion sins, the result is the same. I have a broken relationship. Now the problem is not that I've just committed 1 sin, I've actually broken all of the 10 commandments, and so have you. Have you ever lied? Has there ever been anything more important in your life than God? Have you ever used a cuss word, GD this, JC this? Have you ever disobeyed parents? Oh, I love that one. When I talk to high school students, any student, they just crack up laughing. Well, yeah. So we've broken every one of the 10 commandments. The third point my friend shared with me, he said, John, Jesus Christ invaded human history for the purpose of paying the penalty for sin. How would you pay for a $100 speeding ticket if you got one?
$100.
$100. If you got a death penalty ticket, how would you pay for a death penalty ticket?
Die.
You have to die. Penalty for sin is death. There's only one way to pay a death penalty. That's by death. That's why Jesus Christ died, to pay the death penalty for going on. Now, if that's true, that's a great story. It's a great fact. If it's not, get rid of it, flush it down the toilet. I'm not interested in giving my life to things that are false. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not a Christian because my parents are a Christian. I'm not a Christian because it's the standard religion in America today. That's not why I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian because I think it's true, and I've made a choice to commit my life, my life to a relationship with Jesus Christ. Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship. So, Christ died on the cross to pay my death penalty. Fourth point my friend shared with me, he said, John, God offers that to you as a free gift. Very different from my concept, and the concept of almost everybody on the planet if they've never been exposed to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I had what I call the balance beam mentality. I thought when I died, God would take this huge balance beam. On one side, he'd put all my good deeds. The other, he'd put my bad deeds. If the good outweighed the bad, I get to go to heaven. If the bad outweighs the good, I get flushed down the toilet, and I have to head south. So if I murder some girl on campus, sorry for the illustration, maybe. If I murder some girl on campus today, and then tomorrow I save her brother or her father from drowning at Newport Beach, am I now back down to zero morally? How about if I save 10 people from drowning at Newport Beach? Am I back down to zero? No. No matter how many good deeds I do, it will never cancel out my murder of a person, no matter how many good deeds. So the balanced beam mentality is excessively faulty. God's requirement to get into heaven is perfection. And quite frankly, I can't do that. How many games would the Lakers have to play to have an undefeated season if they lost the first 3 games of the season? It's impossible. They can't. I've already broken all of the 10 Commandments at least once. So I can't work my way into heaven. That's what every religion in the world says. You can work your way to heaven. Whether it's Hinduism or Buddhism or Islam, you can work your way into heaven. I think that game plan is faulty. It's false. Now, I will defend your right to hold a religion other than my own. I will fight for your right to hold a religion other than me. But I also will fight for the right to say that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, not 5.6. And I'm not being intolerant when I point out your answer being wrong. When the math professor here on campus puts 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, and somebody yells out to him, You narrow-minded, egotistical bigot! Where's your tolerance? Is he being intolerant? No, he's not being intolerant. He's being honest. When Jesus Christ said, I'm the way, the truth, and life, no one comes to God but through me. That's either the truth or it's a flagrant lie. And if it's a lie, I don't want any part of it. But if it's the truth, then I want to embrace it. If Jesus Christ really is God the Son, then his statement is not one of arrogance or intolerance. It's simply a statement of truth and honesty. But our culture is so overdosed on a wrong view of tolerance. We think true tolerance is we agree with everybody. That's stupidity. That's stupidity. And it's impossible to do. Do you really believe that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4? If you really believe it, then when somebody puts 5 down on the answer sheet, you're going to mark it wrong. Why? Because you are making a commitment to truth. 2 plus 2 equals 4, not 5 or 17, or whatever you darn well feel like. Truth is not determined by your belief. Truth stands in existence apart from your existence. If I drop dead today, the sun is still the center of the solar system. 2 plus 2 is still equal to 4. My belief has no connection with determining something to be true. But I should seek for my beliefs to be consistent with reality. So anyway, questions. I'll talk for, well, I only have about 10 more minutes, but questions. Any topic. I may not answer them.
So the Bible talks about the effects, so that kind of impacts people's thinking, and how does that exist free will?
I probably won't answer it. Next question. Predestination, free will. I want different questions, but that's a good question. Is homosexuality natural? Are you trying to get me killed? I was at UCLA. That's the question I dread the most, is that question, because it's such an explosive topic in our culture. I'm going to deal with this question first, then I'll come back to it. I was at UCLA, and somebody kind of asked me that type of question. What do you think about homosexuality? My answer, the short answer was, I don't think it's the best option. Because that answer won't get me destroyed, won't get me killed. And I knew that the girl that asked it was going to come back to it. But I had about 10 minutes to assess my audience, to see how much truth I could give them. Because some people aren't willing to listen to very much truth. And it's hard to give truth to people that don't want to learn truth. So is it natural? No, I don't think it is natural. But we need to have both compassion and understanding for people that are struggling in this area. So I have a friend at USC. He came to me and said, John, I want to pursue the gay lifestyle. Talk me out of it. So for 3 months we met and we talked. And one day he said, John, I have some bad news for you. And I started crying. He said, I've
decided to pursue the life path. Mr. Schaefer, I love you, and that will never change. And I care deeply about you, and that will never change. But I think you're making one of the biggest mistakes of your entire life. And it's going to hurt you. You can never quench your thirst by drinking salt water. You can never quench your thirst by drinking salt water. Those that have homoerotic feelings will never meet their needs by getting their clothes off. The average homosexual man in America has 40 partners in a year. The average homosexual in Los Angeles County has 200 partners in a year.
The average homosexual in San Francisco has 400 partners a year. Do you think they have meaningful relationships? Those statistics were reported by the Los Angeles Times. Those numbers that I got. Los Angeles Times. Are their hearts filled and satisfied? Clearly no. Clearly no. So I don't think it's good for them. People say, well, John, aren't you being homophobic? Aren't you just fearful? No, no. I'm not fearful of homosexuals. I'm fearful for them. Because I don't want them to ruin their lives. Okay? Question.
In the Old Testament,
Why are there generational curses in the Old Testament? Because my behavior as a father will influence my children. So if I lose my temper, if I get angry, if I yell and scream at my children, which I used to do, because one of my problems in my life has been anger, then they might have a tendency of also expressing their displeasure about things or life with anger. So my bad character, my
Poor behavior influences my children. And they're going to have to make choices to move away from that modeling that I've done in certain areas. She had her hand up earlier. Go ahead.
Oh,
Question.
yeah. You said you don't believe homosexuality is natural, so do you think people choose to be homosexual?
It's a complicated question, and there's not an easy answer to the question.
What do you believe?
Well, that's not, I don't know. And so the better question is this: what influence factors do we know of that influence people towards this desire or behavior?
levels of testosterone.
A distant father that's uninvolved in their life, usually coupled with a very strong, overly aggressive mother. That's one factor that can influence. Sexual experience at a young age. Student at Biola University, I met him last year. I said, when was your first sexual experience? 4.5 years of age. He's guide. That's how he remembers it. He'll remember it. Guaranteed. Men's brains are built a certain way. We can talk about that from a psychological or physiological standpoint. 4.5. Some girl around his age, 6, 7 years of age, basically took off his clothes and tried to have sex with him when he was 4.5. I said, when was your next sexual experience? Age 6. Older man, like, maybe in his 20s or 30s, basically raped him and had sex, homosexual sex with him when he was 6 years of age. And I'm like, there's my missing puzzle piece right there. Another factor is when guys are going through puberty, or actually before guys are going through puberty, guys are trying to figure out what it means to be a guy. What does this mean? Does it mean I run sports, I can jump tall buildings, I can go faster than a speeding bullet, I'm invincible, I'm Superman? What does it mean to be a man instead of a boy? And guys are trying to figure that out. If they haven't figured that out, because as I'm trying to figure out a man, I'm looking at my dad, I'm looking at my older brothers, I'm looking at professors or teachers or coaches, and I'm looking at them as a model. Kind of, what is it to be a guy? And if I haven't figured out when I hit puberty, I haven't figured it out. Now when I hit puberty and all these emotions and hormones are raging, now I've got tremendous sexual desire. It's like a locomotive, baby. Right, guys? Don't answer. It's like a locomotive. And so now I'm still looking at men to try to figure out what it means to be a man, but now I get this incredible sexual impulse in my life, but I'm still looking at guys to figure out what it means to be a guy. So now I get my wires crossed. Now I start looking at men for sexual involvement because I haven't figured out what a guy is yet. And that happens to a lot of men, lots of men. The book, Desires in Conflict. It's written by a guy that was involved in a homosexual lifestyle for about 10 years. He's here in Southern California. Desires in Conflict. He talks about this. It's a great book. Joe Dallas. And he's a professional counselor here in Southern California. He was a pastor with Calvary Chapel. He left the pastorate. He pursued the gay lifestyle for about 8 to 10 years. Then he changed his mind about it, and he got out of the gay lifestyle, and he started changing perspectives. So, very challenging. Questions?
Oh, that was the bell.
Oh, that's the bell? Okay, I got another 60 seconds.
How do you know, like, yeah,
How
how do you know the Christian God is
do I know that the Christian God is the real God? Because of the evidence. Jesus said that he'll prove that he really is God by raising from the dead. So the resurrection is one of the most powerful items. Your 3x5 card or that blue card, fill that out if you would. Hand it to somebody at the door. And if you have more questions, email me. JONRIT. Thanks for coming.